Our next guest says she's always been fascinated by women who exist on the edges of history, underestimated, overlooked, yet just as significant as their male counterparts. For example, have you ever heard of American female mobster Virginia Hill? In Hollywood movies, her contribution was centered around being gangster Bugsy Siegel's girlfriend.
The way you were staring at me, I thought you were going to ask me for something a little more exciting.
Like what?
Use your imagination.
I'm using it.
Let me know when you're finished.
Oh, they used more than imagination. Contrary to popular belief, she was much more involved in organized crime than just someone's girlfriend. Erin Bledsoe's new book, Mob Queen, tells the story of Virginia Hill. She was the only woman at the time who became part of the Chicago Mafia, but her influence impacted organized crime across America. Publishers Weekly says this book is a humanizing portrait of a notorious woman, and Erin joins us ahead of her book signing tonight at Murder by the Book. Good morning.
Hi.
All right, so in that film clip there, you said Annette Bening did such a great job, but when I remember that movie came out, we were all involved in the love affair between Warren Beatty and Annette Bening.
Yes.
So we knew Annette, but we didn't really remember Virginia Hill.
I know, yeah, she did such a good job. And I was able to use a lot of her clips as inspiration.
Yeah.
She did really good.
All right, at age 17, you began writing mostly fan fiction. What got you to put pen to paper? Was so many times when I talk to authors, there's something pivotal that made them sit down and write for fun versus it was a school assignment.
Right, so I was doing Star Wars fan fiction for fun, and then I did a high school project that was on Marie Antoinette, and I was able to kind of write her perspective when she was in prison and stuff. And I turned it into my teacher, and she had mentioned I would be a very good historical fiction author, and then I went down the rabbit hole from there.
Yeah. But that makes sense for you because
Right.
you're talking about women on the fringe, because Antoinette was about more than just saying let them eat cake.
Exactly, yes. And that was why I sort of got into this concept of like women that aren't explored, and I can provide a new narrative.
Yeah,
that
sometimes
we
they
can
say
dive into.
behind every great man is a great woman. Sometimes behind every great man is a greater woman.
Yes.
Right? All right. Your next big step is you submitted to Pitch Wars, and the 40 Elephants, that
Yes.
just got you to writing even more. All right. Virginia Hill mostly exists as a history footnote, and you realize, no, she could be just as strong and ruthless, and she was. She had a hard childhood.
She did, yes. Lots of abuse from pretty much every husband and dad.
Yeah.
So I think one of the fun parts about her is she did some bad things, but you can almost understand where she comes from because her history was so violent and rough.
Born in Alabama, alcoholic father, her parents divorced young, and just think about this time, a lot of women didn't have a lot of opportunities. Married at 15 to a 17-year-old.
Yes.
I mean, I cannot imagine that, right?
Yes.
But went to Chicago with plans to enter the porn industry because, again, her thought was, I'm not educated. What opportunities do I have? And she's like, I got to do what I got to do.
Yes.
So that kind of ruthless part of her was in there.
Yes.
Okay, she was creating options. Why did you choose Virginia's story? Because there are so many, I think, footnote women in history out there. I know this has got to be a daunting task for you to kind of look through all of them and think, why this one?
So I want to do bad girls of history, and I want to keep doing them because I think, but I have to be particular about which bad girl, because some of them are too bad.
Yeah. And some of them are just bad.
Yeah.
Like you said with Virginia, we find out why she was
exactly.
bad.
Some of them are like right there where you can say, okay, I wouldn't make those decisions, but I understand why she made them. For Virginia, I started researching all of the men, and then I started researching her, and I realized like, oh, she wasn't a girlfriend, she was an actual major player.
Yeah,
and she sat in the room with all of the men, and she made all of the decisions with them.
And what's interesting is we kind of romanticize the American, mafia, those characters, Lucky Luciano.
I know, and that's why I wanted to
Capone.
make sure I brought all the violence to the page. It's definitely not romantic.
So she enters the mob. She was a waitress and a prostitute after she got divorced from her 17-year-old husband. And then she entered the Chicago outfit. And so just to give the perspective, women didn't do that back then. They weren't part of the organized crime.
They did, but they did not
that way.
get smart enough and use strategy to rise.
Yeah.
And she did.
All right, what was her strategy? What did she do? She infiltrated a mob as a mistress, which
She
you're
did.
saying a lot of the women of the past in the mob, they stayed at just the mistress title. She did more.
Yes, I think one of the major things with her is she didn't get married. She was sexualized, and she did use her sexuality.
And then she meets Bugsy Siegel.
Yes, I think when I was researching her, I really couldn't gauge if she did love him or it was just strictly business, but I think it did fall into definitely an abusive relationship. And yeah, I do believe, obviously it's my theory, but I do believe she helped plan his murder.
I remember the movie, and he had bought her this big, beautiful house out west in California
Yes.
after he was trying to settle Las Vegas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she took off for Europe 4 days before he was murdered.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, and then a lot of people thought maybe she avoided getting murdered by leaving for Europe, that she was going to be in there as well. But
Right.
you think instead she helped
I definitely think she helped. She was just so inside. So if anyone could have brought him down, it was her.
She was ruthless. Okay, so she died at 49.
Yes.
Overdose of sleeping pills, which during around that time, things were kind of suspicious if anyone died. Like Marilyn Monroe, the
Right.
overdose of barbiturates and stuff. So there's speculation that she tried to put the full court press on the mob for money. And they're like,
yeah.
no, that's not how we do things.
Yeah.
Right?
So if I were just to theorize, I think it could go either way. It could be suicide, but I definitely think the mob caught up to her.
Yeah. All right. You did so much research. You talk about rabbit hole, what it takes to get a book out like this. How long did you spend on this before this book went from you first getting the idea, Virginia Hill, to it's published now? 2 years. Wow. And you worked on it, every day just about, or?
Well, yeah, every day. I have to take breaks because it's a lot of violence. It's a dark story. So I would take breaks and kind of recoup, but about 2 years steady to get it
okay.
The way I wanted it.
What you talked about on the face of what you want readers to get from this, but they also get something else out of this. It's a little bit of mystery, it's a little bit of intrigue, and it's inside to what, I'm just going to say La Cosa Nostra, we hear all that stuff all the time, inside to one of the most secretive organizations in American history.
Yes, I did. I wanted to make sure it was kind of like a ride, but also it gives you a new perspective on her, which, right now I feel like she still does exist in Bugsy Siegel's story, and I want her to have her own story.
Do you think she'll have her own story one day on the silver screen?
Oh, I hope so. That'd be so fun. Yeah. I don't know why they wouldn't. It's such a good story. Outside of the mystery, just her story in general is good.
You just signed a new book deal.
I did, yeah.
What can we expect from that?
So I have another book coming on a rum runner in the 1920s, and then I'm kind of breaking off.
A female rum runner?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
and
nice.
then I have a kind of breaking off from female criminals, and I'm doing a 1950s drag racing all-female team for book 4.
Yeah. So you make readers aware of women, but you also include good girl counterparts.
I do, yeah. The rum runner story is interesting because I started writing it from the perspective of the rum runner, who's the criminal, and then I brought in the district attorney who brings her down. So it's kind of like a dual point of view. I found out the government at the time was the actual criminal. So I ended up I'm writing about 2 criminals in the story, and one is our government and one is the rum runner.
Yeah, which is a theme that people are looking at today,
I know.
right?
So that ended up being such a score, and I didn't know it was coming. I was surprised myself when I was researching. I was like, oh, I have a win here because I'm writing about 2 criminals.
Well, you grew up in Houston, so welcome back home.
Yeah.
You live in Michigan, and people will get a chance to meet you tonight. What do you love about actually being at a book signing and seeing the people who are reading your books?
I think it just humbles me. I'm always surprised if I have someone who loves the book. Every single person who comes up to me is like, oh, I love the book, or I loved your first book. It still shocks me that people read them. I'm just very humbled.
Yeah, keep putting them out because they are great reads, and I love how, because what it is based on facts. Some things you have to fill in the gaps, which is the fiction part, right?
Yes.
But it also keeps it interesting. But there is someone out there who fits the mold of almost everyone you write about.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can meet Erin Bledsoe at her book signing of Mob Queen. That's tonight at 6:30 p.m. at Murdered by the Book, and we love that bookstore because they keep bringing us such great authors. For more information, visit greatdayhouston.com and we will connect you.